Apple's AI lead is finally leaving the company. Welcome back to the AI Daily Brief Headlines Edition, all the daily AI news you need in around 5 minutes. As you'll see from the main story, it seems like December 2nd is already providing a ton of evidence for everything we talked about on December 1st, which was, of course, our predictions for what the big stories in December would be. We kick off the headlines today with the announcement that Apple's AI lead is finally out, marking the end of an underwhelming era. Apple announced that John Giannandrea will be stepping down as Senior VP of Machine Learning and AI Strategy before exiting the company entirely next spring. Giannandrea joined Apple from Google in 2018 and helmed AI efforts at the company until earlier this year. In March, Bloomberg's Apple insider Mark Gurman wrote that CEO Tim Cook had lost confidence in Giannandrea's ability to execute on product development. At that time, leadership of the Siri product was transferred to Vision Pro creator Mike Rockwell, who would report to SVP of Software Engineering Craig Federighi, cutting Giannandrea out of the loop on Apple's most urgent AI product. In other words, Giannandrea's exit seemed inevitable for almost the entire year, but it is a sign of how lumbering, frankly, and slow-moving Apple has become that it took nearly 9 months after Tim Cook apparently lost confidence for this shift to be made, when this is such an important product category. Now, Apple apparently won't directly replace the role, instead opting to split the artificial intelligence team under multiple new leaders. Staff will report to SVP of Software Engineering Craig Federighi, COO Sabik Khan, and SVP of Services Eddie Q. Eddie Q, you might remember, was one of the folks who was most aggressively pushing acquisitions as a way for Apple to get back into the race. I think, if I remember correctly, leading the charge around the Perplexity talks that never ultimately materialized. One new addition is Amar Subramanya, who is joining Apple as VP of AI, reporting directly to Federighi. In that role, he will lead foundation model development, machine learning research, and AI safety and evaluation, which had been Giannandrea's core responsibilities over the recent months. Subramanya most recently served as corporate VP for AI at Microsoft and was previously head of engineering for Gemini at Google. Now, Swix underscored one big point posting, "This is burying the lead. He joined Microsoft AI 4 months ago," which either means Apple made him a great offer or he really didn't like working at Microsoft. Now, Bloomberg's Gurman noted that Apple still has the odds stacked against them. They're currently working towards a spring release for the new AI Siri after missing the intended release date this year. Siri will now be powered by Google's models rather than models developed in-house at Apple. And of course, the AI team has seen a huge amount of attrition. More than a dozen members of the model team have left, including lead scientist Roming Pang, who joined Meta over the summer. I would say that people's general take on this is good riddance, but not sure if this is enough. Mark Gurman writes, "Strange hire for a number of reasons, but it's hard to argue the Apple job is a bad one. Anything is an improvement at this part, so the bar is as low as it comes. An easy layup on the resume." Mac Daily News writes, "An unmitigated failure. Steve Jobs would have bounced this bozo on the day ChatGPT was released in November 2022. Giannandrea finally and ridiculously slowly and gently being shown the door is better years late than never, we guess." Listen, ultimately, we asked in our December preview episode if we were going to see signs of life at Apple, and this certainly seems to be a necessary step for any of that to proceed. Next up, a little model news. As we were recording yesterday's episode, we got the drop of Runway 4.5, as well as a new model from DeepSeek, and we also got Kling's Video O1, which they're pitching as the world's first unified multimodal video model. The big deal here, and the thing that people are excited about, is basically Nano Banana style editing but in video. So the idea is that you can swap protagonists and elements, weather, styles, colors, etc., which, as it did with photos, if it works well, opens up an entirely new set of use cases for generative video. I'm hoping to come back and do a broader episode about Kling O1 and Runway 4.5. First impressions outside of the hypesters are, I think, a little bit disappointed. The lack of native audio really hinders the general consumer use possibilities of these models, but they might be orienting towards their niche in professional production. OpenAI and their Code Red are the subject of our main episode, but they also make the headlines after taking an ownership stake in Thrive Holdings. Now, this deal on first glance is reinvigorating the discussions of circular deal-making in AI. Thrive Holdings is a subsidiary of Thrive Capital, who are one of OpenAI's major investors. The subsidiary was launched in April and functions as a private equity roll-up vehicle with an AI twist. At the moment, they're focused on acquiring professional services firms like accountants and IT support, then adding AI tools to boost efficiency. This is the big PE play of the moment right now, with lots of folks trying some version of this strategy. OpenAI plans to embed engineering, research, and product teams within Thrive's portfolio companies to help accelerate the strategy. Jared Kushner, the CEO of Thrive Capital, said, "We are excited to extend our partnership with OpenAI to embed their frontier models, products, and services into sectors we believe have tremendous potential to benefit from technological innovation and adoption." He added, "For decades, technology has transformed the world's largest industries from the outside in. We believe the AI paradigm will be different in that some of the most profound transformations will now occur from the inside out. We view the businesses that we own and operate as the right reward system to build, test, and improve industry-specific products and models. Now, interestingly, while the circularity of the deal is sort of an obvious component, there are actually kind of a lot of folks who see the business logic here. Milk Road AI writes, OpenAI will work with Thrive Holdings to accelerate how businesses adopt AI, starting with accounting and IT services firms. So you've got OpenAI's investors funding a holding company and then OpenAI itself taking equity in that same holding company. In other words, and this is back to NLW's language, this is less OpenAI investing in the fund that invests in OpenAI and more OpenAI and one of its investors collaborating on a subsidiary under one of those investors that is an operating business that takes advantage of OpenAI's technologies. Going back to Milk Road, they continue, it's a closed ecosystem where capital and technology flow together. Thrive Capital funds the acquisitions, Thrive Holdings owns the operating companies, and OpenAI provides the AI integration and strategic guidance while capturing upside as equity owner. The strategy is simple. Don't just sell AI, own the businesses that become valuable because of it. David Hendrickson writes, by controlling Thrive Holdings, it gives them an environment to test its models. Selling AI to big enterprises is slow because they're risk-averse and have old systems. Through this investment, Thrive Holdings buys these service companies, and OpenAI embeds its engineers directly into them. They can experiment with workflow-heavy, rules-driven tasks without needing to convince an external client to take the risk. And I think that as someone who is deep inside exactly this sort of transformation right now, there is absolutely a clear logic to this. Having a test bed with fewer barriers to try radical and complete AI transformation is extremely valuable, and also, it's not clear ultimately if the better business model is trying to transform the old companies through enterprise sales or just owning the new actors who take advantage of the new technology better to become the dominant companies of their age. Overall, I think the response to this has been more positive than I might have imagined, which is good for OpenAI because they need momentum right now, as we will see in the main episode. In fact, let's close the headlines here and jump on over into OpenAI's Code Red.